All right, 118.1. I'm going to start with a semi-feminist thing. Like I have another pair of new thrift store shoes. I got these for 15 bucks at the thrift store. And the deal is that you can get really great shoes for a tenth of what they should sell for if you're willing to put up with a little discomfort. These are about a half size too small. And I thought about it and I realized, I usually have super comfortable shoes, but women put up with this shit every fucking day to have nice shoes.
I would just like to say those are a handsome pair of shoes. You are a dapper man.
From here down.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, it's just a weird thing that half of the population puts up with a severe foot pain just because of the way pretty shoes are supposed to.
Well, they ruin their feet too. It's I should tell you guys as an anatomy teacher, any shoe that comes to a point is going to eventually deform your feet. The deformation of the foot begins in childhood, so the shoes should always flange out because the natural shape of the foot, the toes shouldn't come together like a V. They should flange out. So not only women but children shouldn't be wearing shoes that are pointy either.
We grew up in the era of corrective footwear. You go to your parents would take you to a doctor, and the doctor says, yeah, his gait doesn't look right. And because of that, I had to wear like braces, shoes that had built-in braces that ran up my leg for the first 3 years of my life.
Wow.
To somehow, to correct something that would have corrected itself naturally, or wouldn't have mattered. But it was, so I had to wear sensible. I didn't wear tennis shoes until I was like 13. It was, and you're not going to be popular at school if you're wearing freaking cordovans or whatever you call them.
No, I can see that. Do we have an issue of substance right now?
Yes.
Of
All right.
general interest?
All right. So Trump, as of today, Trump has.
You were going to make a statement, though?
There's the statement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Trump has 17 months to go. His 4 years, assuming he only gets 4 years, are almost 2/3 over. And I got to say that I believe that in retrospect, we will look back on the Trump era with a certain amount of shame. And I think that, when it's over and all the dust settles, that, there will have to be, and we'll have to just kind of forgive everybody for thinking it could have been super awesome. I mean, it's, the era isn't, we don't have people being, it's not, as I said last night, it's not Germany 1940. So, and we still get to watch Netflix all the time and have superhero movies and all that stuff. But, I'm meandering, like my daughter busted my balls. But anyway, I think we'll need some reconciliation. After
Hold
Trump
on.
leaves office.
Wait because when you're touching the mic, it's causing all sorts of. So.
I think
Wait.
Okay. All right.
Hold on.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And we've remained friends throughout this Trump situation, and I think we'll be friends afterwards.
What?
Rick, since we've been doing
Wait. So what? I said it different in the car?
Aren't you going to try to like?
Oh yeah, but I have to. I've been challenged to work harder on converting you from being a 100% Republican. And one reason I haven't worked very hard is it's clear to me that you're a determined guy. You wouldn't have created all this stuff with the thousands of hours, tens of thousands of hours that it took to create this stuff. And you bring that same focus and dedication to your politics. So I never seriously considered trying to convert you. I just didn't think it was, I'd like to score, an occasional thing where you say, yeah, maybe, but beyond that, I'd say that with some of the stuff with Trump, you know, you'd think that he would, you know, get kind of half my job done by just being so crazy sometimes. Though you've said that what he says doesn't matter, it's what he's doing that you care about. And it's not whether he's banged porn stars, and it's not whether he does tweets that are ridiculous, it's his policies and everything. But still, I will say that the guy is, I mean, he says crazy shit every day, and it does affect things. You know, it affects the economy, it affects the national morale. Anyway, now you say shit.
Rick, in order to be convincing, it's necessary to come up with specific examples. Now, you told me we're all going to feel a lot of shame. I don't feel shame. I've never been more proud. You said that Trump says crazy shit, and you give me no examples.
All right, I'll give you an example.
Well, hold on.
But you're gonna.
You spoke for 5 minutes.
All right, but
You let him talk.
let me give him.
No,
one
no.
example.
Actually, my response is you got to give me something to disagree with. I mean,
All right,
the fact that you feel shame,
All right.
or that you think I should feel shame.
No, I don't think you should feel shame. I think
you'll.
I think when everything settles out 5
Yes.
years from now, when we
Yeah,
read all the books and
Uh-huh.
we read the reports and
I
we see
understand.
what actually. Okay, so
Got
I think that a lot of people will feel a certain amount of
it.
shame.
Why?
When it turns out, I've got a book I'll show you later on.
I swore I wouldn't yell, by the way,
All right,
but the frustration.
All right, but like you want an example. The racially motivated violence is way up. But we've had this argument, and you don't believe that Trump's response is in any way associated with the rise in violence.
No.
So, you know, I mean, that's one of the arguments I'd offer, and you just swat it away.
Well, I don't, because there are two different issues that the public has to understand, okay? The first is that they have done surveys recently, this month, that among the races, people are having a generally better feeling about each other, about the other races, than they did under the Obama administration. So when they ask whites, how do you feel about blacks? When they ask blacks, how do you feel about whites? They get a generally more positive feeling than they did under Obama. So that's the survey that interests me. Don't interrupt me. Now, the second issue is, have there been more crazy people that shoot people? It's for racial reasons. In other words, hate crimes. Now, hate crimes are actually very low in the United States under any president.
Compared to what?
Compared to, we went over the numbers a few months ago. It turns out that actual murders over race in the United States don't go more than a few hundred any year, ever. That's with 330 million people.
Are there countries not?
No, I told you not to
All
interrupt.
right, well, I mean,
So my point is that if 1 year, 20 people more get killed, that makes it seem like the statistics are the percentages skyrocket. I mean, if 1 year 50 people get killed over race, and the next year 70 people get killed over race, that's an increase of 40%.
yeah.
Okay, so you would say, well, Lance, hate crime is up dramatically, but what it really means is there's one more guy out there. So I don't trust isolated attacks by crazy people. I trust overall surveys of the general population.
All right, well, I'd respond by saying that maybe the general population is being nicer to each other about issues of race, or because there's so many bad examples that make people want to lower the temperature.
Well, you have no evidence whatsoever.
I'm
You're
just wondering.
speculating.
I'm speculating, but I do know, living on Twitter,
Uh-huh.
that it's not just people killing people.
Uh-huh.
It's like people who are less crazy but still crazy, like going nuts in a bagel store or a Starbucks because somebody is speaking Spanish in there. Go back to where that kind of crap. And
Yeah,
those
the
instances,
Democrats make a big deal about things like that.
because it's interesting. It's weird. It's
And that never happened under Obama.
Wasn't the Dayton shooter supporting Warren?
what?
Wasn't the Dayton shooter supporting Warren?
All right, don't help me, don't help me.
No. So
Go ahead.
no, there were two mass shootings in one weekend. There was Dayton and there was El Paso. And in one, it was a definite white supremacist in El Paso trying to shoot Mexicans. In Dayton, it was a guy whose beliefs were a little scattered, but who had plenty of beliefs that were left-leaning.
Well, he was actually a Sanders supporter,
So
or Elizabeth Warren. He was on record as supporting a Democrat candidate.
yeah, so you had one who leaned one way.
As well as the Democrat that shot up many of the Republicans, Congresspeople.
Steve Scalise
And quite a few others.
Yeah.
So he attempted to.
Yeah.
But by the way, just to show you how the Democrats lie to Rick, who then lies to me. Do you remember Major Hassan, the Islamist that shot 19?
Yeah, he was on
soldiers?
base. He was a soldier himself.
Yeah, that was an Islamist under the Obama administration
Yeah.
that shot up our military, and that was not listed as a hate crime.
Well, it should have been. It was.
Yeah, but it didn't feed into your statistics. I would be willing to bet my life that if we went back and we studied that year, that man's attack would not have been listed as a race crime.
I mean, we could look it up. It's possible.
We could, but my point is that that would skew all the statistics again, because then you've got 19 more people killed by an Islamist.
You had people in, I want to say Bakersfield, but it wasn't Bakersfield, but it was east of here. Riverside, the couple.
Oh yeah,
the super shitty couple.
and they were under the Obama administration.
They
were Islamists.
They
killed
pledged
Americans.
fields. They weren't straight up Islam. They were They wanted to be in ISIS, I think.
That is an Islamist is
I know.
somebody
All
that
right.
wants.
Okay.
For those of you in the audience, an Islamist is somebody that wants to impose Islam on the rest of the world through violence if necessary. So my point is that were those race crimes?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well. Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, they're actually ideological.
Yeah.
But my point is that crimes
But no,
like
there's still
that,
hate crimes based on a big demographic division. You're not killing
Okay.
people because somebody's banging your wife. You're not shooting that guy.
I
You're shooting
understand.
people based on the type of the demographic they belong to. So yeah, it's the same kind of
All
crime.
right,
You
and
brought-
I bet those are not included in your statistics.
You brought tangible evidence to support that Trump colluded, right, Rick?
Yeah, but we'll get to that.
I think we should move on.
All right, we'll move
All
on.
right, let's see tangible
All right.
evidence.
No,
The
well,
director says there's.
you like to make a point. You
Yes.
have certain rhetorical tropes, so do I. But one of them is that I'm the last person in America who believes something bad about Trump. You
Okay.
usually haul it out when I say that I still think there's plenty of evidence that Trump was enmeshed in a not good way with foreign powers, generally Russia. Now, some people think I'm an internet influencer, which is lovely. I got this book, an advanced copy from a guy I follow on the internet, Seth Abramson, Seth Abramson is the king of crazy levels of research. He's a lawyer who decided to really try to get to the bottom of Trump. And he's the guy who taught me about writing in long strings of tweets, inspired by him, because he'll write strings of tweets, threads, that are 100 tweets long. And I'm like, I could do that with my book. And I wrote a tweet thread that's, I don't know, 700 tweets long. I haven't looked at it in a while. But anyway, he's been an inspiration.
Okay.
And he reached out and he offered me an advance copy of this book. And you like to say I'm the last person who believes in that Trump colluded. Yet this book here, which goes on sale in 2 weeks, it's got collusion twice on the cover. Collusion. It's got conspiracy too.
Let's see it.
Okay. And
Well,
also,
let's see the proof.
oh, the proof is, I mean, I'm only on page 67 out of 500 pages. But here, I was impressed by this statistic. And you can say anybody can dig up anything in the media that says anything, but the 3,350 endnotes for this book, comprising 4,300 individual citations, run over 250 pages. And you don't have to buy the book to see them. He's, instead of making this book another 250 pages thicker, he's made his sources available to all online. If you go to...
Okay, no one is the slightest bit interested in this. I want to know
just the one simple point is there are other people, millions, tens of millions of other people, who are not convinced that Trump didn't collude. And this guy has put together an extensive...
Let's read the proof. I want to see it.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know how we're going to do that. I mean, I can read the book jacket. You want to do that?
No, I want to know the proof that Trump colluded with Russia.
He doesn't. His first book was Trump and Russia. This book makes the case that it wasn't just Russia, that it was Russia and 5 other Middle Eastern countries: Egypt, Saudi Arabia, not all Middle East. Egypt's. It's all right. And it's 5 other countries that got together in the Red Sea meeting to help Trump get elected, and with the expectation that Trump would do them favors in terms of policy. And I can read the book. I don't think you want to wade through 560 pages of this. Or do you?
No, you go right ahead and read that.
Okay.
Because I have to tell you, I was, for a minute, kind of excited. Because for 2.5 years, you've been trying to convince me that Trump colluded with Russia. And, well, the Mueller report didn't come up with anything.
That's not what happened.
Actually, the first paragraph says Trump did not collude with Russia.
It doesn't say that.
Yeah, let's look it up.
Okay, we're breaking.
Yeah. I have, let's look it up. Where's the...
It's not what it says. It's not what it says. So you said the first paragraph of the Mueller report says Trump did not collude with Russia.
The first paragraph of the Barr summary.
Well, oh, come on. That's a whole other fucking thing.
Okay.
That's not...
Okay. Barr summarized the report, but Mueller didn't contradict Barr.
Kind of did. He wrote him a letter saying that your
No.
summary... He wrote 2 letters to Barr saying that your summary of my report was misleading.
No?
Yeah, he wrote 2
Okay.
letters. He wrote
It
2
says
letters.
here, this is what Barr says.
Yeah, but what did Mueller
found-
say? You can't say that Mueller said something and then read me something written by somebody else.
That's true. But I'm going to read you something written by someone else, and then we'll have to read the whole Mueller report
No,
to
because
find out.
somebody who's off camera here read the first paragraph when we were on break.
I
Read
understand.
that.
Rick, the first paragraph says that Russia interfered with our election. No one's disputing that.
Okay.
The only thing we're disputing is whether Trump colluded with Russia.
Well, no, what we're disputing is whether the Mueller, the specific claim you made.
Yeah, okay. If it isn't in the first paragraph, that's a shame. That's not my point. I don't know which paragraph in the Mueller report says that Trump didn't collude with Russia.
It doesn't say that anyplace. It says that there
Does
wasn't
it say that he colluded with Russia?
It says there wasn't sufficient evidence to conclude. I mean, it doesn't come out and say.
Well, let me get this straight, Rick. Help me out here. You're telling me that the Mueller report says that there was not sufficient evidence to charge Trump with collusion with
I
Russia?
believe it does say that.
If it says that, then that means he didn't collude with Russia.
No, those are two different statements.
No, they're not. If there's insufficient evidence that you murdered your wife, then you didn't murder your wife.
That's not true. If I'm really good at doing it, and I mean, there are guys who get away. There are guys where everybody knows they murdered their wife. They put a, they went out to the middle of a lake. They weighted down the wife. They
OJ?
threw her over.
Rick, unfortunately, I'm living in the real world.
There was O.J. Simpson.
Okay,
O.J. Simpson.
Rick, listen to me. I can't base my decision on your mood. Okay? If Mueller says he doesn't have evidence,
That doesn't
Trump
mean that he didn't
colluded with
do
Russia.
it.
Yeah, I know. But it also doesn't.
You're moving the goalposts
No,
rhetorically.
I'm saying that if he doesn't have evidence, then that's it. It's over, Rick. That means that there is no evidence.
Okay,
if there's no evidence, Rick, if there's no evidence,
But
after a 2-year investigation costing $23 million with 17 investigators, if after that they find no evidence, Rick, then me,
they didn't
them,
find.
and Barr and all the sane people in the rest of the world know that you can't charge someone with something that there is no evidence for.
They found insufficient evidence.
Yeah,
They didn't find
insufficient.
zero.
You're right, Rick. Insufficient evidence means that the person can't be charged with anything. In effect, okay, let me explain something about the law.
I understand you don't need to walk me through this
I
shit.
do. I need to walk you through this, okay? Listen to me. The law is what don't interrupt me. The law is what humans use, okay? Now, humans can't prove anything because we're not gods, all right? So, when somebody says, did this person kill their wife? Well, maybe the person is a master criminal and somehow they invented a time machine and they were able to go back in time and kill their wife. But because we're humans, we use the legal system. And if the legal system says we have insufficient evidence that they killed their wife, then even if you imagine that they did, on this planet at this time, they did not.
It's a bad argument. Thanks to the director, I can ask you, did O.J. Simpson kill Nicole Brown Simpson?
Yes.
But a jury found him not guilty.
Right. But the point is that in the case of O.J., there was evidence. It was jury nullification. In other words, they actually retried the issue and he lost in a civil suit.
That's true.
So, and there was evidence. There was blood all over the place. They, in the case of Trump, if there is evidence, first of all, you've never provided it for me. And second of all, if these 17 investigators, all of whom were Democrats, who had 2.5 years, if they end up saying that there's insufficient evidence, then I have to take that as the end of the issue, Rick.
Well, there are other issues around it, but let's move on.
All right.
You wanted to know about this thing, or at least I want you to. I'm going to read it anyway. The thesis.
Wait, I just want to finish so you don't think I'm a liar. The first paragraph of the Barr summary says that there was no evidence that the Trump campaign, anyone associated with it, conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in these efforts, despite multiple efforts from Russian-affiliated individuals to assist the Trump campaign. So that's what Barr says that the Mueller report says. That's
And
his
that's not
summary.
what Mueller said, and Mueller wrote Barr two
No,
letters complaining.
no. If he wants there to be charges filed, then it's up to him to insist that charges be filed. He did not.
Well,
Although part two, he was not exonerated.
You can't exonerate somebody. It's not that you exonerate somebody if you're a judge and there's been a trial. If you're an investigator, you either recommend an indictment or you don't.
you know, these are creaky old. Anyway, I want to move on to this because I think the Red Sea conspiracy and the grand bargain. In late 2015, after Donald Trump is formally announced his candidacy for president, a geopolitical conspiracy emerges overseas whose key participants are the leaders of Russia, Israel, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, and Egypt. These 6 leaders decide that Trump is the antidote to their ills. For Russia, U.S. sanctions. For Israel, the lack of Arab allies. For Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, and Egypt, perceived threats emanating from Iran. The conspirators commit themselves to doing whatever is necessary to ensure that Trump is elected. Trump's presidential campaign is aware of and benefits from this conspiracy both before and after the 2016 election. So that's his thesis statement, and the rest of the book he goes about trying to prove it.
Well, he's a dirty liar. That's my thesis.
Okay, fine. Though, you know, there is, just assuming for the sake of this discussion, there's a silver lining in this being true. Something that you'd support and I kind of would support too, which is the part where 4 of these countries want stuff from Trump to help hold Iran down. And I think we can all agree that that is a thing that we want.
Rick, now I hate having to do this. Rick is a very stubborn man. And so unfortunately I have to repeat things a lot in order to get him to connect the dots. Now this very thick book that he presented me with, it's very thick, okay? It has a lot of research, all right? And a lot of notes, all right? Now, I don't have a big thick book like this, okay? I know that in Syria, about a year ago, U.S. forces killed between 20 and 500 Russian soldiers. I know that the one thing that prevented Russia from gobbling up the Ukraine is U.S. shipments of military hardware, something that the Obama administration refused to do. I know that we now have sanctions on Russia that are as severe or more so than the Obama administration put on them. I also know that Trump has interfered in Russia's efforts to use its natural resources and energy so that the U.S. could hopefully deal them an economic blow by taking over their gas shipments to Europe. He said specifically to the Germans that they need to stop importing Russian energy resources and start getting them from us. And that's their main source of funds. I also know that Trump has drastically increased the military budget, forcing all of the advances that Russia made under the Obama administration to be moot, because the U.S. is now working on the most advanced weapons and replenishing all of their supplies and all of the things that had deteriorated under the Obama administration. Now, none of these facts impress Rick. Rick still thinks that Trump colluded with Russia, that he's an asset of the Russians. And I think that at this point, if none of those things make any impression on Rick, then I have to wonder, is it sheer stubbornness? Or do you lack the capacity to connect the dots, Rick?
All right, so I'll use the same analogy I used last time you made this argument, which is you take the entirety. Now you'll argue that what you said is most of everything. But like, for everything you've mentioned, Trump has done something that's pro-Russia. This very day, or over the week, anyway, yesterday or today, he said, let Russia back in to the G8, the consortium of...
So what?
Russia was kicked out by the countries in the G8, now it's the G7, for invading Crimea and taking Crimea.
Okay.
And Trump says, no, let them back in. Even though they're not even in.
Trump's argument for that was that every time he has a G7 meeting, they end up having all these issues discussing Russia. And so he said, look, it's a meeting. That's all it is. If we're constantly having to talk about Russia, why don't we have them in the meeting so that we can talk with them about that?
All right, that's a good point. But I would say, what I've said before is, when I was catching fake IDs.
No.
Yeah, I can say it. It's easy and it's
Fine.
quick.
All
It's that
We'll be impressed by this argument.
no, you may not be, but it's like not everybody giving me a fake ID was completely ignorant about the person they were pretending to be. Most people knew some shit about their fake selves, their birthday, their middle name, say, and then there was other shit they didn't know, like there's the zodiac sign, or the year they graduated high school, or you turn to their friends and go, what's this person's name? And they fuck up the name. So like it was a mix of, shit.
So are you, so...
Not every, you don't have to be 100% pro-Russia in everything you do with regard to Russia to not be somewhat beholden to Russia.
So Trump tweeted today that Jewish folks who stand with Omar are
Talk loud.
Oh yeah, well repeat. Can you just let's transition into that. So is that how you feel about?
Well, say,
Sure.
Director, talk loud.
Yeah. So Trump tweeted today that if you stand with Omar or you stand with Talib and you're Jewish, either you're ignorant or you're betraying the Jewish faith.
He cast his net wider. He said if you vote for Democrats, if you support the Democrats, you're either what?
Which is you, because you're Jewish, and you're either you're ignorant of the facts, or you're betraying. He said you're betraying your faith.
I think his exact words were disloyal.
Disloyal. Okay.
Yeah.
So, do y'all want to comment on that? I mean, do you feel that that's what you're trying to say about?
Do you
Rick?
want me to talk first?
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. I love it when he speaks openly. Now, Rick has a lot of shame because of the things that Trump says. The more I listen to the man, the more I love his candor. That's exactly correct. If you're still a Democrat after the way they closed ranks to support Talib and Omar, then you basically are a traitor to your faith, to America's ally, Israel. It seems to me that as a Jew, as a normal civilized human being, which is what Trump is, he supports Israel, and I hate to use these words, their right to exist. Talib and Omar don't. Talib and Omar want Israel destroyed, and Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the Democrats have supported them. Not one word has been spoken against them by the Democrat candidates. And to me, they should be renounced. They should be, the Democrats themselves should primary them and remove them from office if possible. But no, actually the Democrats have decided to close ranks and take their side. So what Trump is saying is the God's honest truth. Anybody that will not oppose these individuals, Omar and Talib, hates Israel, wants it destroyed, And I guess that includes the Democrat Party. And as a Jew, it's particularly vile because you're betraying your own people ethnically, if not nationally. So yeah, Rick, I would like to say, yeah, you are disloyal to your race and religion, and I think this is the saddest moment of the 2.5 years we've been debating.
Okay, super sad. Now, the survey question I would like to see asked of American Jews is, do you think Israel should cease to exist as a nation if they don't treat the Palestinians better? And if you ask Jews that, I don't think even 1% of American Jews, but I don't know because we haven't asked the question, would say yes, Israel should cease to exist because they're mean to Palestinians. I don't think any American Jew who's not a crazy asshole thinks that. But so that question wasn't asked of American Jews, but American Jews were asked political affiliation, and 3/4 of American Jews only 25, only 1 American Jew in 4 supports Trump. Mm-hmm. And I forget what the rest of the 2/3 of American Jews think that Trump's doing a bad job on foreign policy. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to reflexively support Trump to support Israel. And you can think that Tlaib and Omar go too far, and that they've got their own agenda that is associated, obviously, with their religion, which is Muslim. You can hold both thoughts in your head at the same time. You can be a Democrat, think they go too far. You can maybe think that Pelosi should have gone further to condemn them rather than the milquetoasty condemnation of hate speech in general that was made by the Democrats. It didn't call them out specifically. But you're not being disloyal to America or to Israel by being a Democrat, as evidenced by 3/4 of American Jews continuing to be Democrats.
Man, they are disloyal.
They're not,
and they're as dumb as the Jews that didn't leave Germany when Hitler took power.
That's fucking ridiculous.
That's how stupid they are. In fact, they're more stupid because we have decades of history to see how a country can turn on the Jews, and the Jews do nothing. In fact, they weren't afraid of Hitler. They stayed in Germany and they died. And that's the kind of Jew you are, Rick. You're the kind of Jew that is not upset. You don't demand that the Democrats renounce Tlaib and Omar. You don't, because they haven't. You'll go ahead and vote for them, right? You're going to vote for one of those Democrat candidates, and let me remind you, not one of them has denounced those congresswomen.
Well, the election's not for another 15 months.
Rick, they should have denounced them now, and they haven't. So you're going to vote for them.
But let's talk specifically about what Tlaib and Omar said. One of them said that AIPAC, which is the American-Israeli Political Action Committee, is too powerful and exercises their power via money. By the tweet said it's all about the Benjamins. And she was called out for tweeting this because it's a racist trope because it associates Jews and money. Right?
Not by Democrats. The Democrats didn't say a word about it.
All right, well, so that's thing
one.
one.
The Democrats were fine with that. You're going to vote for them.
Let's lay out exactly what was said so we're clear. That's thing one. Thing two was Tlaib and Omar support, I believe, boycotting Israel unless they change their Palestinian policy.
Actually, no. They believe that Palestine should be a country that extends from the river to the sea. That means there would be no Israel.
Have they said that? Where have they said that?
I can look that up, but the organization that funded their trip to Israel That's what they believe. And so if you're going there, you're being sponsored by an organization that calls for the destruction of
I
Israel.
don't know what the organization is. What is it?
I don't know the name, but I can find it for you. And this organization supports the complete destruction of Israel.
Or we should find out that.
Well,
Next time we break.
let's supposing, well, look, I can tell you this. There's a map in Talib's office that has the nation of Israel covered up by a little sticky note that says Palestine.
Okay.
So you're going to vote for a candidate that doesn't renounce her.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
if it comes down to that, I mean,
Yeah. That doesn't bother you, that they don't stick up for, that they don't say that she's wrong to destroy Israel.
it bothers me a little bit.
Bothers you a little bit.
Yeah, you can ridicule that, but like,
I do. I ridicule that.
Okay,
I think
that's fine, okay.
I think that you are a very I think that you are a very immoral person not to care about that. I think that your values are completely confused. I think that a person that is not more than a little bit upset by somebody saying that Israel should be destroyed is perhaps a very confused person in their values.
all right, so are you upset when one lunatic Republican, say Steve King of Iowa, says that that abortion shouldn't be for the victims of rape and incest? Because if it weren't for rape and incest, we wouldn't be here today. Like that sounds like a lunatic thing, and
I renounce Stephen King and I would not vote for him.
yeah, but you would vote for.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what he said.
To be
I mean,
fair,
I don't know.
he did say that. He did fucking say that.
I don't know.
No,
what
but
he
to be
meant.
fair, I think
it's kind of unintelligible. I
no,
don't even know
it's
what that
pretty
meant.
intelligible.
Okay,
That's what he
well,
meant.
let
Now,
me
though,
put
I
this-
will agree that he says like shit that is not.
But how is that?
Well,
how is
that's
that-
your party for the most part. I don't know if
Yes.
it's 100. I think
Yes.
some Republicans did say, "Shut up,"
Okay.
which is, I believe, that's a positive thing for them to have done that. But I mean, most Republicans did not call for his censure. So you're voting, when you vote for a Republican candidate, you're voting for a party that lets Steve King say this crazy shit.
I don't know what the exact quote was. I'd have to look it
It's
up.
pretty
But
close.
Steve King isn't running for president, so
Neither are these two freshman Congress people.
right. But the people that are running for president have to take a stand, and they aren't. And
Well,
you're
Trump
gonna
didn't
vote
take a stand on Steve King saying that, that.
Look, Rick. Every single Republican in the United States is not does not have to be supported in every crazy statement they make. This is different. The difference in logic. I've got to explain this to you because you're a smart guy and you understand logic. There are two people trying to create an international incident. They're members of the Democrat Party and they want to destroy Israel. Right now you have 20 Democrat candidates. Not a single one of them has condemned their wanting to destroy Israel.
All right, so let me say
And
this.
you're going to vote for one of those candidates.
Let me say that I would like.
This has nothing-
You've convinced me.
Yes.
You've fucking convinced me.
All right.
I want the candidates to say no. That you can't want Israel obliterated, which is really kind of. Yeah, I would like a statement against some of the shit they've
Well,
said.
I know you like that, but they're not going to. They're not going to say it, Rick. And you're
Rick.
still going to vote for them.
Well, if we have decent debates, we've had two so far, and this hasn't come up.
It's not a matter of debates. Every single time they say they want to destroy Israel,
but they don't
that's
say
the
that.
opportunity
They,
for...
no,
well-
you say it for them. You extrapolate because you say if Israel is boycotted,
Yeah.
and I believe you, if Israel is boycotted to the extent that you think it,
Yeah,
to
a
the extent that
complete
you,
economic embargo, yes.
Yeah.
It would destroy Israel,
okay, so I buy that.
yes.
So you like to say that they're in favor of destroying Israel.
Yes, yes, I would say that.
All right, so
And I would say if you've got a map that has no Israel on it, that means you don't want there to be an Israel. Now, my IQ's a little lower than yours, but I was able to figure that out.
well, you didn't figure it. You would have figured it out, but the people you listen to on your podcast.
You can see the map.
Okay.
There are pictures of it.
Yeah. All right. So fine, but they are two people out of 235.
The numbers don't
Democratic-
matter, Rick. They're in Congress. None of your candidates will
Rapist
denounce them.
Steve King, incesty Steve King is one of.
I denounce him. I denounce him. I would not vote for him for president. I think if that's what he said, if he thinks women should be raped by their brothers, then he is a bad man.
Okay.
I will not vote for him. Now, your candidates can't say that about the two people that want a second Holocaust, Rick. What is the matter with them, and what is the matter with you?
Has anybody asked them point blank, do they want Israel?
Do they need to be asked point blank, Rick?
Yeah, it's a pertinent question.
Don't you think they would have thought of venturing an opinion at this point?
Generally, people ask questions.
So
Reporters
you
ask-
think it's way out of line for Elizabeth Warren to get up there and say, you know what? Omar and Tlaib are wrong in the way they're responding to Israel. You think that would be just crazy for her to venture that
No, I'm
point?
not saying that.
Then why doesn't she?
No, I'm saying, has anybody asked Tlaib and Omar directly, what do you think about the continued existence of Israel? That's the pertinent question.
Rick, I don't think it's a pertinent question because I'm not an idiot. If I was an idiot, then I'd need to ask that. But you know what? I got the crazy idea. I was able to put two and two together. That if they're being sponsored by an organization that wants Israel destroyed, then maybe they want Israel destroyed too. Call me a nut for coming up with that one.
So, don't you think somebody should ask them about it?
No, I don't think anybody needs to ask them about that, Rick.
So nobody needs to hold them to account by asking them that question?
No, I don't think so, Rick.
All right, that's...
No, I think we can pretty much surmise that. And I think it's up to you.
And you don't think that anybody, any reporter, it's like if you have 20 candidates or so, Democratic candidates running for president, and none of them, according to you, and I believe you, has condemned Tlaib and Omar. Don't you think that an enterprising reporter it would behoove somebody to ask at least some of these candidates to say, do you support Tlaib and Omar when they suggest policies that would lead to the destruction of Israel? That puts it all on the line, and they would have to respond. Now you're saying that they should speak out without being asked. But wouldn't it be helpful for somebody to ask them that? By it all. The two congressmen who have what we consider shitty opinions about Israel, largely because they come from Muslim backgrounds, because they're sympathetic to the Palestinians. You think it's a bullshit argument of mine that saying they're less than 1% of the Democrats in Congress, and thus their crazy thing doesn't matter that much. So we got to move on. And you can say that.
Rick, but even if they were 1/2 of 1%, even if they were 0.25 of 1%, it still behooves the Democrats that are running for president to publicly denounce them.
All right,
Rick
so
brings
we
up
got
a good point about the press. And why don't they ask the candidates that? Why don't they ask Omar and Tlaib that?
Well, you know the answer, Rick, because they're...
Why? Because they're liberal?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are people from the Daily Caller and from Breitbart out there writing articles and shit. Shouldn't they? you think they'd want to ask. The press is not. Now you must
Well, look, every single time something happens, Nancy Pelosi holds a press conference where she takes Tlaib and Omar's side. I mean, you don't have to ask them.
Who's at the press conference? There must be somebody who...
Yes, she takes Omar's side. She says that Trump is way out of line to persecute Omar and Tlaib for being treated so badly by Netanyahu.
Okay. What do you think about Netanyahu? Netanyahu's been prime minister for a long time, like 5 terms now.
I suppose.
And he's. Do you believe that he is about to get indicted on corruption charges?
Rick,
I'm just asking.
I think that the left in Israel is just as bad as the left in America. Trump has not been indicted for anything. I think what the left likes to do is, since they can't win elections, what they like to do is to use the legal system to attack people. So if they can find a left-wing judge that will go along with it, maybe he will be.
So
the left can't get their way by the vote very often.
all right,
So they like to use the courts.
All right, then we'll end after that. I think so you can't be a good Jew and align yourself with the left in Israel because they believe some of the same shit, right? You can't be a good American Jew because Trump says you're disloyal if you're not a Republican. So I assume you're similarly disloyal as an American Jew if you say that the political left in Israel is right, is correct.
The political left in Israel is just as bad as the political left here. They would destroy Israel if they could.
All right, so let's move on.
Okay. Elizabeth Warren.
Okay, so Elizabeth Warren is rising in the polls. Elizabeth Warren took the opportunity to, I think it's her second apology, to apologize to Native Americans for having, wasn't specific in her apology, but it was obvious she meant that she'd gone for some chunk of her life. She said she had Native American blood. And then she took a 23andMe test and found out that I think the amount of blood she had was between 1/500th and 1/1000th, which is very little, is I guess less than the average amount for whitey in America. So she apologized. And there's one more point, which is that people like to claim, and it's been debunked, that she used her supposed Native American blood to get hired. And this turns out not to be the case as far as I know. I've read that it's been debunked, and I believe that. I mean, we can look it up someplace, 2 places, 3 places, 4 places if you want. But she's apologized. And Twitter, where I live, is not full of, but has a lot of people saying, you know what, I grew up in her neck of the woods, and I heard the same thing from my parents and grandparents, that we had a Native American somewhere in there, and I think it's an understandable fuck up. Other people are saying, people are attacking her still, but other people are saying, she apologized, and that's more than, some people do. So there you go. Are you going to say she's unsuitable to be president because she claimed she thought she had more Native American blood than it turns out she does? Or are there other reasons why you wouldn't vote for her because, she hates the banks or wants the banks held to account, even though she used to be a Republican?
I think she supports free medical care for illegal aliens and reparations for all African Americans for slavery. I also think that she wants a variety of socialist policies. I think she wanted to overturn all student debt, like so they wouldn't have to pay for anything?
I
No?
don't think
Well,
so.
we can look up her positions. Why don't, you know
Yeah.
what, instead of gossiping,
Yeah, let's do,
let's
okay,
look
so
up
let's shut
her
it down and
positions.
we'll come back when we have the position.
All right.
Okay.